I have been a kind of person who doesn't handle adversity well. As soon as adversity hits, I tend to be like, okay, that's it, pull the plug,
I'm out. Welcome to the Sinclair podcast, where we share real-world experiences, wisdom, and the honest struggles of entrepreneurs to help you navigate and scale your business with confidence.
Steve, thank you so much for coming on today. I've been really, I think I say this for a lot, but I have genuinely really been excited about having you here. We met probably, 6-8 months ago?
Yep.
And I want to start with that story. Good friends of Steph and I, what we didn't know until we found it after is they were going through some big challenges in their marriage. And to the point of, they said, Steve saved our marriage. And I think that's such an incredible compliment to you and the work you did. And for us, it became, hey, we've got another kid. Our challenges seem to be growing. We're not at our best. So why not go and see Steve if we can now before things get worse? And it wasn't that things were really bad, but we were really excited to go in and say, okay, what are some things that we can work on, analyze where we're at, but then really be proactive. And Steph and I have got so much out of our therapy with you. It's ongoing monthly, and I hopefully we never stop until you, for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, well, that's so cool. Thanks for that. It makes me think of your work was pretty preventative in a way, right? I mean, there wasn't like a crisis and something needed to happen or be fixed in order to be saved. Like I was thinking about snow tires, like it's almost like thanking someone for putting snow tires on,
I bet you mechanics don't get that often.
Yeah, maybe not.
Thank you
so much, because I know this has made my winter a lot better. But
that's right.
I feel like a lot of therapy is like that. Some of it is like I was in a crisis, I need to get bailed out because I didn't put snow tires on. But I think many couples come because they see that if we don't put the snow tires on, that something, bad might happen. And that's the best place to come because people are generally motivated and ready to work on something,
Love that analogy.
Yeah.
I'll be using that.
Okay, I just thought of it now.
Yeah,
just because
great.
Of the drive in today.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Hopefully you got them on.
Yeah.
Why don't we start with, why did you get into this work?
Yeah, I'm 56, and my first love was music, actually. So I did a degree in music, and I thought, because I lived, breathed, and played music all through school, high school, college, I thought music was going to be my career. So writing, performing, recording. And I just had this tug the whole time. I don't know if you ever get that little voice, like you're doing something that you think is the thing, but there's another little voice that says, are you sure this is the thing?
Yes, I think probably a bit of that now, and most that know me know right? I've had many of those moments and probably will.
Exactly. So whatever that voice is was always there. And but I did my degree in music, and I started a music career at West, actually, in Alberta. And the whole time I'm making it work, but there's a part of me that's like there's something else. And I picked up this book by Scott Peck called The Road Less Traveled. It's a classic.
I've heard of it. I haven't read it.
1977. And the first line of that book is, life is difficult. And then he says, the sooner that we realize and accept that life is difficult, the fact that life is difficult doesn't seem to matter. And I read that and I went, this is the work I want to do. I just had this moment of, okay, this is what this voice has been telling me. This is the work I need to do. So I gave up the music. In fact, I stopped playing guitar for a year.
Really?
I just I have to quit, not that I had an addiction problem, but I had to cut the cord. I went back to school, did a BA. So I'm a late bloomer. I got my master's when I was 40.
When you say back to school, that's how many years is that program?
Yeah, well, I had a bit of a BA with my music degree.
Okay.
I just didn't have enough psychology, so I had to do one more year of psych.
Okay.
So it would be a 4-year psych degree, like undergrad, and then 2 years of the master's. So I finished that by the time I was 40. And by then I knew this was the thing that was telling me, what I needed to do.
What were the first couple of years like in the business for you?
Well, we were raising a family, so it was a lot of pressure. It was sort of strange, like you are going through things that people are coming to you for as well, right? So the stresses of raising a kid or children, the financial pressures, your own mental health, your own maybe relationship with your spouse, all that stuff, I'm juggling at that time. It felt quite lonely. It was fulfilling, but I saw anyone who had a pulse, like, if it was a Sunday morning appointment,
You're just
we didn't
growing
go
the
to
business.
church. So, and I saw anyone, as long as they felt it was within my scope. But I saw kids, adults, couples. I didn't work 7 days a week, but I was available 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And I did that for about 5 years.
Yeah, it's part of building that business from scratch, right?
Business. Yeah. So it was tough. I felt sometimes bad, because I felt that my clients were getting the best of me sometimes, and that my kids were getting what was left. So I really was aware of that, and I tried hard to make sure that I didn't spend it all, in my work. But the nature of the work, it is challenging that way because it's quite draining. And I'm an introvert, so my battery's pretty small to start with. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to realize in the early moments that you made the right decision and that was the work you truly wanted to do?
Almost right away. Like as soon as I went to school and to finish my BA and to major in psychology, I just sat in class and was like, okay, this is it. This is the thing. Yeah. So even long before, there was a bit of imposter syndrome, in those early years. Like, really, I'm a therapist now, But since that time, and I was all in. We cashed in RSPs, like we sold a bunch of stuff. Like this had to happen.
Wow.
So we were my wife and I were pretty convinced that this was the thing.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And at the time, early, did you realize that you would build, I would say from my view, a large practice? You've got 15 plus on the team, growing, you've built something incredible that's helping a lot of people.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. I'm an accidental entrepreneur. I had no plans of building this. So about 5 year mark, I'm busy and almost getting too busy now. And so people are calling and I'm referring them to colleagues that I know, in the city or the region. And I was telling my friend about this and he's like, have you thought about maybe hiring somebody?
You're sending all the money over there.
Yeah, right. It's very nice that you're doing that. But
Yeah.
have you thought about, hiring somebody and building? And it had never occurred to me. Like I just never had that. That wasn't part of that little voice, But then we hired one person and then two and then three. And then we've just, built it slowly and steadily. Every year there's been growth and the demand for our services are higher too. So
it's incredible. What were some of the challenges as you build out a team? Because as a solo practitioner, it's you focus on you. It's your rented space or wherever you are. But now you've got a team to rely upon, a quality to maintain, and really your reputation because it's your name.
Totally right. Yeah. So there was that, and I had to talk to some friends in the industry about that too, and they were just freaking out for me. Like, why are you doing this?
Oh no,
right? You got to
Steve the introvert that's got a busy business in
That's
general.
Right. Yeah. And why are you willing to put your name, to somebody else's work? But I felt confident, that we hired good people and we did. Not everyone worked out, not everybody stayed, but not because they weren't good people, but maybe it wasn't the right fit for the business. But the biggest challenge was I wore every hat. And so those early years of, I'm the guy who's buying the coffee, I'm the guy who's doing everything. And it took me about 10 years of from 0 to 10 years to realize I'm burning out now.
Yeah.
So then we brought my wife in to start helping. We actually hired a business coach to help sort of deconstruct this sort of dysfunctional business structure and get me to wear
we all
one
need
hat.
good coaches.
Yeah. So it's been the last 5 years of structuring our business so it's more sustainable for us, and it works better for the team as well.
Did that coach specialize in your industry?
No, actually, no. It was kind of a generalist. In fact, he worked with much larger businesses, but he knew the principles that he had for those larger businesses would apply for us.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, I got a huge favor to ask. If you're getting value from this podcast, tap that 5-star rating on Spotify or Apple. The more we grow, the more leaders and entrepreneurs we can help. Thank you for being a part of this. Now let's get started.
Let's go back to just talking about therapy. What are some of the biggest misconceptions about therapy?
I think, one of the biggest misconceptions, I mean, it's changing now, but traditionally was if you went to therapy, it was because there was something wrong with your life, you weren't somehow coping well, or you had made some mistakes or bad decisions. And like, if you need therapy, you've done something wrong.
You're broken.
Yeah. Or you've got mental health problems. There was a sense of, if you're going to therapy, it was almost like going to the principal's office in school.
And for
you're
decades,
in trouble.
this was not something that you wear as a badge of pride. Like, we're in
for
therapy.
sure.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
not everyone's running around like Chris saying, I've got like 2 therapists. It's great.
Exactly.
You guys should try
Totally.
it.
Yeah.
Earlier days, it was not that at all.
It was, are you okay? Is there something wrong?
Yeah.
It was very much like,
Or did you hear Steve's going to therapy?
right. Yeah. Almost like, did you hear, so-and-so's getting open heart surgery, like a triple bypass or something. Wow. It was on that kind of level. Like, if you're getting therapy, there's something really wrong with you and that needs to be fixed, So that's still around to some degree. But the younger generation, like, the Gen Zers, and even the millennials, like, it's cool now. Like, if you don't have a therapist, there's something wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. You have an issue.
Yeah,
That's
you've got
right.
an issue. Yeah. But even our generation, the Gen Xers, and even a lot of boomers, they're coming to therapy now. They're sort of getting on board. They understand that, it's normal to go, just like you go to a dentist to get a checkup. You're going to a therapist because you want to live a better life. You want a better relationship, or you want to be more healthy. It's less so about, I have this huge problem or this crisis that I'm in and I need to, get bailed out.
It seems to be a lot of people, and then this is probably through my lens, but and I can actually share this from experience. The first time therapy, I probably went to 6 sessions. I started feeling great. I'm like, thanks. We don't need to do any more work. Mm-hmm. And I see that often with people. It's to the point where they need it. They go, and after maybe 1, 2, 3, maybe their benefits are capped. Maybe there's number of issues that just causes them to say like, hey, I think I'm good. And I've, used the analogy of, they were at a 2 out of 10 before, they're at a 4 out of 10, but it feels like an 8 or a 9, so they move on. Mm-hmm. How do you deal with that with individuals who, that the continued work will help them, but they just feel better and they want to move on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's pretty normal. Hey, like, I don't think I ever finished a bottle of like antibiotics or something,
Yeah,
You're supposed to finish it.
Yes, you are.
But I think I'm good,
Yeah, I feel way better.
Yeah, I feel way better, yeah. I think the thing that I try to work on with clients is not so much do you feel better, but are you living better? So we really try to set goals at the beginning that are not really feeling goals, but they're more behavior goals. I want to be able to do X. And if they're doing X, then therapy is done. But if they're not doing X, but they're feeling better, there is that dissonance there. Like, hey, remember how you said you wanted to quit your job because you were so disappointed or, disillusioned with it, and you wanted to start your own business, and you want me to help you with that? Therapy is done when you've done that. But if they say, I feel, however this would go, I feel fine, I think I'm just going to stay, part of me goes, well, what happened to that dream when you first came to therapy and said, I really want to do this. I feel like, my job is just sucking the life out of me, and there's this new dream. Can you help me with that? People sometimes change their minds, but if you can set like a kind of a vision for people's lives or help them, cast their own vision, then therapy is done when they are moving towards that. So I try not to speak in feeling words really at all, because when you're living out your vision, you're going to feel better.
Yeah. What are some of the benefits of just ongoing therapy for people? And maybe the better question is, for those individuals or couples that you see that just continue on the work with you, do you see continued progress?
Mm-hmm. It is a lot like a check-in, almost like going to the dentist for a checkup. Yeah. Like, how am I doing? Am I flossing well? Like, are you seeing any worn down enamel because I'm clenching my jaw or something?
Yeah.
I like those check-ins a lot because it is preventative. or even like taking your car in, just give me like the 30-point check, how's everything looking? I think that's really good, especially for questions like for couples, do you feel that you can trust your partner, that you can count on them? Do you feel like you're on the same team? If the generally answer is yes, then we're doing well. That's a great kind of check-in question, just like you would have maybe a break during like a hockey game. You go into the dressing room, have a little chat. How's everything going?
Yeah.
Or a timeout. I think it's good to do that just to make sure we're on track and we're doing the things that we said we would do.
Speaking of couples, what got you more into that over the years, if that was the case? It seems like you have been really known to be a couples therapist.
Yeah, it's funny, like a couples therapy is so different, and most therapists who have joined our practice don't want to do it. It's
Really?
very intimidating. Yeah.
Why is that?
I think because often it's seen as doing individual therapy for two people. Right, it can feel like one is enough.
You're kind of the middleman, right?
Thank you. Right, and it can feel like that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
What am I walking into here? But the way around that is to say I'm not actually treating people. I'm treating a relationship. Like two people are coming in, but the focus of the therapy is the relationship. So that this thing that they've built, this system that they're now in, focuses the team. And I don't know why, but I just love seeing couples work as a team. I just love seeing that team feeling happen with people. Individual work I like as well a lot, but there's something about that couples work that just feels more kind of challenging, but more satisfying in seeing two people really look out for each other. Really be able to count on each other and obviously not meet their needs perfectly, but they learn how to navigate that well. I just find that really intriguing work and really rewarding.
Yeah.
I love building strong, marriages and relationships. I see that as important work also just for our society, just the foundation, of having two people who are really connected to each other, and then they go out into the world, as more healthier, secure people. So,
And what it does for those that have kids too. I mean, that's amazing
right.
work and impact that can go generations, right? Because
Totally.
some of these generational things that we pick up from our parents, our grandparents,
if you
with
can,
that work can stop it.
Totally, yeah.
Or change it.
Yep. Yeah, if you can help parents model, conflict resolution, what a great gift to their children as well.
How much of it is an advantage for you having a wife and children, being in a longer term marriage, to bring that experience into the couple's work?
I think it's crucial, actually, and I mean, our marriage is not perfect by any stretch. I kind of bristle when I hear someone say, I've got it all together, and now I'm going to show you how to have it all together too. Like, just that kind of grates on me. But whereas my approach, as much as I don't talk much about my marriage, but I will say to people, like, we don't have it together. We're 30 years together, and we have a great marriage, but it's hard work.
Yeah, and we have ongoing challenges like the rest of the world.
We have ongoing challenges, and we come together, and we come apart, and we come back together, and we come apart. This is just constant moving. And people generally find that encouraging, and I'm glad I can share that from experience, because sometimes there's this myth that we should always be together. We should always be happy. We should always agree on everything, or my partner should always meet my needs. It's, I think, helpful for them to hear from someone who's been married 30 years who can say no to all that.
Yeah.
You can have none of that and still have a really great marriage. So do a little bit of busting of those myths,
Yeah, I mean, for Steph and I, it's, there's so much more appreciation, I think, in valuing the work that you've done with us, knowing that experience with children, and whether it's referencing not the actual story, but just an experience. I think that provides so much. Just value for people that are on the other side of that.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think that's good.
I think it was session 2 or 3. We did the Enneagram, So the profile assessment, that was amazing. And I mean, I've done these multiple versions, within our company. And again, I can do this all in a work setting, but all of a sudden now we do this and I realize, wow, Steph and I, are opposites in many ways, and seeing the beauty in that and realizing like, holy shit, I can't expect this of her, or that's not fair for her to, try and make me someone I'm not. I think that's a piece that for me, you've helped me so much with too. Just go, hey, remember this scenario does this for your wife.
That's right.
This is how you react. This is how she reacts. And just like understanding and just empathizing, and I think being compassionate to that, to say, hey, let's meet them where they're at and understand that, there's times where we need to lean in, step up, but going back to hey, this is who we are as people. It was so helpful, and it's so damn hard still. And I always leave them like, damn it, Chris, it's a hug, not help, and a solution. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. The Enneagram is so cool because it normalizes differences and helps people realize, hey, like, it's okay for you to be you, and it's okay for you to be me. Because often in relationships, and I think this is why they call it the 7-year itch, like the first 7 years, it's like, well, I'm kind of hoping this person I'm with changes to be a little bit more like me.
That's right.
Right? And when that doesn't happen, it's like, well, maybe I should look for somebody else.
Hang on.
Like maybe someone else will be more pliable. But it's a beautiful thing where you get over that hump and you say, wait a minute, who said that you have to be like me? Or that I have to be like you? What if we could actually recognize that everyone's different? And why don't we leverage those strengths rather than look at people's differences as a problem?
Yeah.
So I think you guys have done that super well.
It's a work in progress, right? I think the ongoing communication, the referencing, the reminders, I mean, it's difficult. And I think, I can see where that happens, where you try and you think someone will change. And I believe you can inspire some change, but at the end of the day, we're to the core who we are.
That's it.
I mean, I still think you and Steph are siding. You're both introverts. I'm like, I feel ganged up. No, I'm just kidding.
But if you're ganged up by introverts, it'd be a pretty mild fight.
It's quiet gang. Yeah. But no, it's been so much fun. Speaking of that, how do you help find? We were talking before, just some of the humor in like these big, heavy emotions, whether it's anxiety, depression, anger. Because when you can step back sort of out of your body and go like, that's kind of interesting. And at the end of the day, I think oftentimes we take ourselves way too serious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially if we see pain as a problem to be solved. Like I think when we get caught up in that idea that if there's pain, I need to solve it.
Yeah, let's make this go away because it doesn't feel good.
Because we'll get serious real quick. And we'll get maybe fixated on it, and we'll get frustrated or discouraged or anxious or whatever because I can't seem to solve this pain. If we inject a little bit of curiosity and lightness into that conversation, we realize that pain is actually a signal. And we don't have to fight it, correct it, coerce it, control it. We can learn to listen to it. And when we can make that switch, the conversation gets lighter. And you can even find that humor again to realize, oh, wait a minute, there's nothing wrong with me. Nothing wrong with my body, nothing wrong with my mind. This pain probably is telling me I need something. And when we can make that shift, the heaviness of it all kind of lifts. And now we can see with more clarity what's really going on. What is this pain telling me about what I need? What's it telling me that I care about? Maybe I need to listen to it.
Yeah, that hits home big time with me. It's taken me 42 years to realize finally that I always came from a place of I don't like this feeling. I want this to go away, and I'll do anything to do that. Yep. And to finally realize, with compassion and just listen. Mm-hmm. What's this thing telling me?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the last 7 years of life, but it's amazing when you can just go like, hey, this is the teacher. This sucks. It's uncomfortable. Yeah. But there's something awesome here.
I grew up in a family where I felt it was my job to not make dad mad and not make mom sad. So for me, my pain was if I failed to do that. So that was sort of my mission.
It's a lot on you.
A ton on me. And so if dad is mad, I've done something wrong. And if mom is sad, I've done something wrong. I'll just say what makes me a great helper is I'm pretty good at tuning into people's madness and sadness, right?
Yeah, you can
So I
feel
got
it.
really good radar. So my radar is great, but my interpretation of what I'm reading is not always that great. So for me, many years, the pain was that feeling of a failure. I failed because someone's angry. So you can see how that would extend out now from my family of origin to friends, bosses, colleagues, whatever. If someone was sad or angry, kind of like the Matrix Sentinels, like I'm going to find a way that I'm responsible for it.
And in your line of work, that's set up for failure.
Totally. Yeah, because the question is always, what's wrong with me? What have I done wrong, right? So that's very painful and very heavy. And I lived with that for probably my first 30 years of my life and then some.
Wow.
So well into my 30s. But where things get lighter and more curious is you go, wait a minute. Like when you start making sense of it, like, hey, I understand why I do that. Given where I've come from, the kind of person that I am, that makes a lot of sense. And sometimes I can laugh at myself when I notice myself doing it, like with people who don't even know me. I'll find a way that they're upset with me,
Yeah.
Or the driver who cut me off. It's like, even that person's mad.
Yeah.
I made them mad.
That is all your fault,
It's all my
Steve.
fault, yeah. So there's times it's like, wow,
impressive.
this thing never turns off. So part of it is just that awareness of what we're thinking and feeling, and learning to understand it, and understand that it's actually trying to tell you something, and we get so much more value from getting the wisdom from it than we do by trying to shut it down.
Yeah, that's beautiful. When couples or individuals come in to see you or any of the practitioners in your clinic, especially those in trauma, what are a couple things that you and your team can do just to lower the temperature and kind of get some I don't want to say quick solutions, but a little bit of ease through some of those really, really heavy things when they've come to that point to you? Yeah.
I think I don't do a lot of trauma work myself.
And let's even say not trauma, just to the point where like a lot of people, I need help now. It's gotten to that point.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. Can I give you an example?
Yeah,
got time
please.
for a story?
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to tell you about a guy. His name is Dan, okay?
Love it.
Dan,
yes.
Because it's actually a good example of someone coming in who's kind of in crisis. So Dan, in his 40s, he's a real person, he's a real client. And he gave me permission actually to share this story, but as long as I just change the name. Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Dan.
Just so everyone knows. Thank you, Dan. He came in to see me because he was in crisis. 5 years before he came to see me, he was at a party and he fainted, like just this random fainting episode. And when he woke up, he was on the floor and everyone's looking down over him. His mom is crying and someone's snickering over here and someone's whispering over there. So it was like mortifying for him. And, I think for a lot of people it'd be upsetting. But for him, he was sort of an anxious type of person. That experience really stuck with him, and it became like, I need to make sure this never happens again, like, because it was so horrifying, and maybe a person might say even traumatic, just losing control.
Sure.
His doctor said actually it was just like low blood sugar, like it wasn't even anything serious. But he was like, well, I don't care what you say, I know how bad it felt. So this was about 5 years before he came to see me, and from the period of when it happened to when he came to see me, his world was getting smaller and smaller and smaller because he did not want this to happen at work or at the shopping mall or at the movie theater or at his kids' hockey game.
It's just closed.
Yeah. So his world's getting smaller and smaller. He's saying no to all kinds of opportunities to go out and see people and be with people. So his relationships with his kids are starting to get strained, and his wife, and he's feeling horrible, but he's in survival mode. I just need to avoid that feeling. I don't think I can handle that feeling ever again. So naturally, he's just avoiding any social situation where that could happen. But he came to me because his brother had just asked him to be the best man at his wedding.
Ultimate, like, worst case scenario
Yeah.
for poor Dan
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah, he's got to give the speech.
Which no one likes. I
No,
mean,
no
no
one
one wants that
likes.
job. Yeah.
But he's been running from this memory, of fainting in front of people. So everything in him wants to say no. But he's super tight with his brother. And he's super loyal. So he has to do it. But he's in a no-win situation, so he can't sleep. He's having panic attacks, right? He's like going to get thrown out of a plane without a parachute is how it feels. So he comes to see me and he says, I have a wedding in a month.
No pressure.
No pressure. I have a wedding in a month. Can you help me? And this is what he said. Can you help me get rid of my anxiety so I can give a speech? And I know it sounds ridiculous, but almost everybody comes with some version of that. Can you help me get rid of feeling X so that I can do Y? And it makes sense in a way because we see feelings as barriers. If I felt better about my body, I'd go to the beach, kind of a thing. Or if I felt that people would like me, I'd go to the party.
Yeah.
There's a feeling piece that feels like a barrier, and naturally we point to the feeling as the problem. We say, well, if we're going to fix the feeling, then I'll do this. If I was more confident, I would speak up at work. That's sort of how we frame the problem.
Yeah.
So he said, if I felt less anxious, I'd give the speech, no problem. So can you get rid of the anxiety? So I said, well, good news and bad news. Bad news is I can't get rid of the anxiety. And he looked pretty devastated, because that's what he thought therapists do,
Yeah.
right? But I saw him getting pretty despondent. I said, let me ask you a question. I said, what kind of brother do you want to be for your brother? And immediately he said, I want to be loyal. I want to show up for him. I want him to know that I love him and I would do anything for him. So that's pretty powerful. So then I asked him, do you think you could do that and be anxious at the same time? Do you think it's possible to be anxious and loyal? And he thought about that, and he said, well, I don't have much choice. I'm not sure, but I'm willing to try.
Oh, wow.
Because everything I've tried, get rid of my anxiety so I can be loyal, hasn't worked.
5 years
5 years hasn't
had
worked.
options.
Yeah. Well, he's tried it. You're right. Get rid of my anxiety so I can go to my kid's hockey game or whatever, right? So we just did something very simple. We said, let's aim not for less anxiety. Let's aim for more loyalty. And the more loyal you are in how you're getting ready for this, you may still feel anxious, but we know the anxiety is going to be there. But that's not the problem. Anxiety is just coming along for the ride because, it's there to try to help you make sure you don't faint. But if you focus more on why am I here? What is it I am doing? What story do I want to tell at the end of the night? Anxiety may be part of the story, but it's not the director. It's not driving the story. It's a character. And he really liked that. He's like, yeah, because he played hockey. He sort of focused on that. Just focus on scoring the goal.
New goal. Yeah.
Can I play hockey when I'm tired? Yeah. When I'm pissed off at the other team? Yeah, I can do that. So we can take all our feelings with us and still be on mission. So he basically got ready. He started writing the speech for the bride, the bride to be, right? Welcoming his sister-in-law. And on the top of the page, he wrote this great quote: "Pain is the price of a meaningful life."
Wow.
Because he knew this was going to be painful. But it was too meaningful not to do it.
Incredible.
And so that is like what we need to do all the time, is when we see pain, we have to ask ourselves, what story do I want to tell about how I navigated this? And is there a way I can take that pain with me? And maybe even pain is a sign I'm doing something really important. Like, we're in the middle of selling a house. We bought a house. So our house on the market like this week. I'm freaking out. And I woke up this morning with the cold feet feeling. I remember I was telling my
buyer's
wife,
remorse?
No, not buyer's remorse.
Or just
No, I told my wife, I said, remember how, we had cold feet before our wedding? She's like, what do you mean we had cold feet? I was like, oh, shoot. I thought we both
That's what
did.
every wife wants to hear in the morning. Yeah, remember that time?
Yeah, it's a foot in mouth. But I said, the cold feet wasn't, I shouldn't do this. The cold feet was, this is a big deal. Like, this is about to change. And I used to see that cold feet sign as a sign I'm doing something wrong. Or maybe there's a sign from God or a sign from, whatever, like, this is wrong. But I really feel like sometimes pain is a sign you're doing something right. Like, this move is a big deal, and it feels really important, and it's scary. Maybe it's a sign that it's the right thing. And we're not taught to think of pain that way.
Yeah.
It's always, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? And I really encourage people to ask, what does this pain tell me about what's right with me?
Yeah, what's the story? What's this telling me?
Yeah.
Like, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love the "and" piece. That's the word I think. And even this morning, we had a charity initiative we launched. I was telling you, Mario came in from Ronald McDonald, and he shared it was an emotional story. And by the end, I'm like, shit, I got to go thank this guy. And I'm teared up, and I got pretty emotional. And I also spent a lot of years having shame around that. But it's like, I can be a strong leader and be super sensitive and show emotion. And I think that's beauty in I can be scared shitless and anxious and nervous about this. And I can be the most loyal, giving brother that I need to deliver that speech. That's a phenomenal story.
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that.
Well, that "and" piece is something I think our culture is learning slowly. I think they're teaching it more in the elementary school, curriculum too. You can be angry, that's okay. Just don't hit Billy. But the anger is okay, whereas, the idea that, I shouldn't be afraid or feel afraid, or I shouldn't feel, emotional after, a really impactful experience, it's like, well, wait a minute. What's the cost of suppressing that? Whereas if I can express it, maybe it's good for my mental health, my physical health. Emotions are meant to be released. They're not meant to be kept in. So it's good to express it. And it's also awesome that he gets to hear from you how much of an impact he had.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
Kids, are they not just the best teachers of emotions?
Totally. Yep.
I've learned so much. Ben at 3.5, Liam just over a year.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful how, like, a kid will get so angry or so sad, and in 3 minutes, it's gone. This happened in the car ride this morning.
Yeah.
And they just moved through so quickly because, my belief is that they pass them. They process it. Yeah. It's there. They feel that it's raw, and then it's gone.
They don't have the baggage or sort of the cultural rules around.
We suppress all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Kids has been such an amazing teacher for us for that.
Well, and to your credit then, some parents would say, don't act that way. Don't cry, or I'll give you something to cry about. So I think them being in a home where they're allowed to do that teaches them expressing emotions is normal, it's healthy, it makes life better. I would say for a lot of, growing up in my generation, more so, but maybe even now for some people, that expression of emotion is still kind of frowned upon because it is seen as kind of weakness.
For sure.
Illogical, irrational, embarrassing. There's still a lot of misunderstanding about what the function of emotion is. It's often seen as a liability.
I immediately think of, as you're saying that, especially with boys and men, right? It's toughen up, don't cry. And I think that's evolving and changing. But again, it was
Totally.
what our parents taught us, their parents taught them. It's no one's fault. It's just
No.
what was current.
Yeah.
It's what they knew. And I think just
Yeah.
being aware and being okay that
Yeah.
we can evolve this and it doesn't have to be that way.
And maybe the intention around it was good. Like, men need to be strong. And if you're crying, you're not strong. So
Sure.
like, I mean, it was sort of messed up there. But, maybe the idea was, in order for you to be who you need to be, you shouldn't cry because being upset is weak. So I just think, it's another misunderstanding of what emotions are.
Yeah. For those that are on the fence, whether they're listening to this or whether they've just had some experience or maybe they're just curious saying, hey, I'm going to give this thing a try. Maybe I'll talk to a therapist. I'll have a few sessions. Whether they've gone to it before or it's new, I still feel, and I've heard multiple people say, well, I don't want to have to share all of these stories and air my dirty laundry and go through all of this heavy stuff that I've done a pretty good job in packing away.
Yeah.
I don't want to go through that experience again. I don't want to tell another therapist.
Mm-hmm.
What's your advice to someone, or how do you encourage them to potentially lean into that?
I think when I meet with a client, I ask them, what is it that you want to do more of in your life that you feel you can't? Name me 3 things that you wish you could do more of. And then 3 things that you'd like to do less of. And we look at that list, and from that list, we start painting a picture of the kind of life that they would like to have. So a person might say, I'd love to quit smoking, or I wish I could be more patient with my kids, or I wish I could eat healthier. So 3 things you'd like to do more of, 3 things you'd like to do less of. And if you could do those things, you would feel maybe happier, but you definitely feel like more in control of your life. You'd feel like the story that you're telling about your life is the story that you want to tell. I'm the kind of person who, there's an authenticity there. And next then, we'll identify what's getting in the way. So what's keeping you from being able to make those changes? Sometimes it's past stuff, but sometimes it's just like going back to my client Dan there. It's a feeling. I would do that, but I feel blank. And what we need to do is change the relationship with that feeling. Rather than see it as a barrier that needs to be removed in order for you to do X more or Y less, let's take that feeling with us. And when people understand, oh, this thing that I thought was a barrier actually is like a co-pilot. It's here for the ride.
Sure.
Me trying to get rid of it is futile. Once I can take it with me as a passenger in my life, then I can make those changes because I'm no longer dominated by my thoughts and feelings, that might be holding me back. So it's casting a vision. What do you want to do more of? What do you want to do less of? What's getting in the way? And let's see if we can reframe that obstacle as maybe actually something that's trying to help you. And when you do that reframe, it's no longer in the way, as we saw with Dan there.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and it's not as easy as that because there's a lot of myths that we have to kind of overcome. I shouldn't be feeling this way. It might be a myth. Or this feeling makes me flawed, or I should be able to control this feeling. What do you mean make friends with this feeling? I should be able to control it.
Yeah, so there's stories we've told ourselves.
Yeah, there's stories that society has kind of trained us to see emotions a certain way. So it's changing our mindset around emotions and learning through experience that, our brain and our body is actually here to help us, not harm us.
Yeah, that's great. If you had to name a timeline, on average, how long does it take someone to get to things aren't great, I'm going to see Steve and his team, to, man, I've made some big changes and I'm feeling really good and, life has changed for me?
Yeah.
If you had to pick a number, just all your years of experience.
Yeah, I would say on average, typically in our industry, they say, 8 to 16 sessions is sort of like the industry standard, is what they expect. Some people come in for 1 session, and they just have this flash of insight. It's like, that's all I needed to hear, or I just never thought about it that way, and they're good.
It's amazing. Not good for business, but amazing for,
yeah,
for
that's
the
right.
people. And
No,
it's
actually,
why you're doing the work.
Our business model is terrible for
Yeah,
our
it's not.
business. There's no client loyalty.
No.
Getting
That's
rid
so
of
good.
clients,
Yeah.
But 8 to 12 is sort of the average length of time. So, or sorry, 8 to 16.
Yeah.
And so you want to budget for that. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more. But yeah, that's the range. And that would be a weekly, bi-weekly. Often what therapists will do is they'll start maybe weekly or bi-weekly, and then maybe down the road 3 months, and then 6 months, little check-ins, right?
Love it.
If you have concrete goals, you'll reach them quicker. Sort of like painting a room. Like if you just walk into a room and you say, well, I just want this room to be better, but it's just super vague, you don't even know what you mean. It's going to take you a long time to feel like you're getting anywhere. But if you say, I want to be able to paint this room yellow, well, you've got traction right away. You know exactly what you want it to look like. So if a couple comes in, they say, we want to parent as a team when it comes to, our kids. That's a really solid goal. But you want to break that down even more. What does parenting as a team look like? And then once you have that really identifiable goal, when you have that, a situation like that, maybe 4 sessions, 6 sessions.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Having a goal is really important.
And your job is pulling that out.
Yeah.
Helping them identify that.
Yeah, helping to identify what would be a meaningful goal for you that would make the time that you're spending and the money you're spending and the effort you're putting into it, that would make it all worth it.
Yeah. Let's talk more about you. You're writing a book, which I didn't even realize.
Writing a book.
No. And your time in the day-to-day clinic work is less than ever before. So how's that experience been?
It's been hard, actually, moving from clinical work to the book. I did it. I gave up a lot of clinical work quite reluctantly. I mean, I really like doing the work, and I've loved all the relationships I've had with clients. So that part has been harder than I thought it was going to be, of scaling back the practice to just a few clients. But it's opened up a lot of time now for me to be able to focus on, the creative work of writing a book, and also directing the practice more. So the balance is actually good right now. A few clients, managing the practice, and a couple days a week working on writing the book.
What's the goal for you for the book? Speaking of end in mind, what's this look like if everything goes to plan?
Well, just like I started my business.
I'm winging it.
Yeah, Chris, I am winging it. I don't know where this is going to go. So it's going to be kind of an accidental thing. I just have that little voice in my head, you need to write a book. And I've tried giving it up, but it's been 8 years. So, okay, fine, I'll write the book. So I don't know where it's going to go. I sense that the ideas in the book are things that come up in the therapy room, and I just want to get them from outside the therapy room into our community. So however that looks. Workshops, seminars, I don't know.
I'm excited to.
We'll see what happens.
I'm excited. You let me know when that book comes out.
I
We'll
will.
make sure we
Thank you.
we get a copy. That's really exciting.
Thanks.
What are some of the biggest challenges as you spend more time on the clinic with a team of 15 and a growing team?
Mm-hmm. I think the biggest challenge is the ebbs and flows of our business. We work with independent contractors, so we don't have employees. So we have a unique model in that we hire independent contractors, and we ideally want them to work with us for as long as they want, their whole lives, right? I think we our job is to provide them with clients and all the services they need to run their business. So the billing and everything, we do all that. The biggest challenge is as an owner is that independent contractors come and go. Sometimes they have a new dream. Sometimes they want to open up their own practice.
And you can't knock them for that, right?
No, of course not. I have new dreams.
Well, you
You
did.
have
Yeah,
dreams.
that's
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Yeah.
But as a business owner, there's that just the aspect of stability of how do you plan, let's say for growth, or how do you invest, let's say in a new space, let's sign a 5-year lease, when there is a lot of uncertainty around, staffing. That's the biggest challenge. And so, we communicate two things to our team, like we want you here forever and we'll do whatever it takes, because it just brings stability to our group, and the more you're here, the more our group starts feeling kind of like a family, like not like the firm, but just a close knit group, and therapists love that, to be able to meet with one another through supervision and so on. So we say that we just let us know whatever we can do to make your life easier here, and also we understand. If the time comes that you want to start your own practice, we totally get it. We want to support you. We don't want it to be something that, anyone's angry about or has to be sneaky about. But that is one of the hard things about our industry is working with independent contractors. There's just a uncertainty around that.
Yeah. When you step back, if you never saw another patient, other than Steph and I, of course, today, what would you say have been the most rewarding things about your work?
The therapy work, what I miss, when you're doing therapy, you don't have to watch movies or read fiction.
No doubt.
No doubt. I get enough of that. I love people's stories. I love people's victories. I just love seeing people. What I miss is almost like when you plant a seed and you're nourishing it, and you're watching it grow. I miss that, of seeing it start here and get somewhere else.
Fruits of your labor, right?
Mine, but yes,
and theirs,
of course.
With that work
just
that you
seeing that together, there's kind of a win-win thing happening. I love it because I'm a helper. I love watching things grow. When I was a music producer, when I was in that field, I took a song and I wanted to make that song be the best it could be, right? Not to serve me, but to serve the artist. How can we make this the best song that's going to reflect who you are, and so on, the message that you're trying to send. And it's the same with couples. How can I step in and make your relationship, not the relationship I think you should have, but the relationship that you guys want. So I join in on that process for a bit. And it's fun for me to see that. And it's a win for them. It's wow, we were here. Yeah, it might cost money. It costs a lot of money to go to therapy. But it's the best money you've ever spent, if it gets you where you want to go, if it makes your relationship better.
The ROI in that is massive compared to the alternatives.
Especially with trust. I'll say trust is the biggest one. When couples learn that I don't have to look out for me because you're looking out for me. It doesn't mean I forget about looking out for me, but I can trust that if I get tired, you're going to be like, hey, are you tired? And that you can trust that I'm looking out for you too. I think therapy, people almost need therapy to get there, because it's just not something that is able to be learned in a day-to-day kind of grind, You have to step outside of that and say, how do we functionally or structurally make this relationship better? It's like going to a coach. How do I make this business better? Because I'm in the day-to-day grind, I'm doing what I can, but I sense that I'm missing something. And for me with couples, it's the trust thing. When I don't have to fight for me because you're fighting for me, our relationship goes from good to super awesome.
Yeah.
I can just rest. I know you're looking out for me.
Sounds like a session we're in. But I say, and you probably see this often, is being a couple starting out is so damn easy, but you throw these little humans or a human into the mix, and they are a damn wedge.
Yeah.
It's the most beautiful and amazing experience, and the most challenging, gut-wrenching. It's you can't write it up. And I'm a late starter. I have so many incredible friends and been around so many people doing that, and they all warned me, but we've got to feel it now. And again, we're so appreciative of what you've helped us with, and the work that we've been able to do, as a couple. With you, we've gotten stronger, and it really hasn't been that long. So I truly appreciate it on behalf of Steph and I, and
that's cool.
And I know that your team, and for that matter, all of the therapists are doing incredible work. So
we try our best. Thank you, and it's an honor to work with you too. I mean, it's great to work with people who are actually doing the work. You know, like you go home and we're going to do the things that we talked about we're going to do.
It's like, all right, we got to do that. I mean,
so that makes my job easier.
oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
What's the one question maybe that I didn't ask you that you wanted to talk about today?
You didn't ask me if I see a therapist.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I see a person. His name's Mike, and I go to him because a thing that I have in my life is this belief that I should be more resilient. I've always been told, you know, I'm so sensitive. You know, I was told that growing up and so on, and I have been a kind of person who doesn't handle adversity well. As soon as adversity hits, I tend to be like, okay, that's it, pull the plug, you know.
Out.
Yeah, I'm out, you know. And so that feeling, like as I was saying before, like that feeling of adversity is a sign I'm doing something wrong. Like if this is hard, maybe, or scary, maybe I'm doing something wrong. So I've just always had that. And so I went to him, and my thing was, help me handle adversity better. Right? I went with a feeling goal. Even I should know better.
It's amazing how it just all gets forgotten, right?
Yeah. I want to feel more, right? So
make me resilient, Mike.
Yes, make me resilient. And he's helping me rather to be more resilient, to be more human. And it's like, okay, that's it. Just let yourself feel stuff.
Doesn't that feel better?
It
Easier?
feels way better. Yeah. And no striving, no beating myself up, no comparing myself to others. You know, it's just like, I guess you're a human being. And like Scott Peck said, life is difficult. So this is what you get. So he's reminding me that, you know, freaking out in the face of adversity is pretty normal.
Yep. Even the coach needs a coach, right?
Even the coach needs a coach.
That's amazing. Steve, we'll be sure to include the link to your website so people can access your team and the great services you're offering. And I just, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for making the time to be here to share your story, other stories. And I hope, again, the goal is hopefully a few people listening to this are saying, hey, maybe now's the time, or maybe I'm going to go back and just continue to open up. I think our society's done a much better job to just lower the stigma, have more conversations, inspire some others, and realize, hey, this is incredible. And I think a lot of people that get there go, wow, that was cool. I wish I did that a while ago.
I find a lot of people, especially men, they'll come to the first session and they leave the session and they say, that was way better.
That was awesome. Yeah, exactly. I kind of like this therapy thing. So.
Right. And you go to therapy and you say, you know, I'm here because I want to build a better life.
Yeah.
I'm not here because I have a problem. I'm here because I want to build a better life. So that's how I'd encourage people to think about therapy. If you want your life to be better, how do you want it to be better? And maybe someone can come alongside you for a little while to help you get there.
Yeah. Great insights. Thanks again,
Thanks
Steve.
for having me. It was a real pleasure.
Yeah, my pleasure. I appreciate it.
You too.